wife Dale Kernahan with an organization called To Soar. We're based outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee, in the wonderful community of Trenton, Georgia. Anyway, we do bird shows at Rock City during the summertime, but we also do presentations at Wheeler Refuge in March, and also at Lake Guntersville State Park in January and February. So as Dale said, we brought some live birds with us today. We're going to walk around with all the birds except for the last one. We normally do fly some birds, but once again we don't want to take a risk in the situation, but we are going to fly one bird, and she's going to fly over everybody. So if you're afraid of birds, this is not the place to be right now. You're laughing. I'm always amazed when people come to a bird show who are afraid of birds. Maybe their therapist tells them, go over there and see that bird show today and confront your fears directly. We have flown birds over people having suddenly just take off running. Looks like something out of a cartoon when that guy goes to the wall. Now, if this is you, you can exit now gracefully without hurting yourself or tripping over everything. We won't make fun of it until you're out the door. But the rest of you, we ask a few simple things. First of all, please do not reach up or out, try to touch this bird as she flies over you. We ask everyone in this section remain seated. Most importantly, when this bird is flying, I can't stress this last point enough, we advise you not to look up with your mouth open. Personal experience, unfortunately. All right, and when we fly this bird, and when we walk around the birds, it is okay to take pictures. When we fly the birds, you can turn the flash off on your camera or smartphone. Also, when she's flying over, don't hold your camera or smartphone any higher in your head. Don't try to touch her either if she flies over you. All right, I think we've got all that. I'm going to start off with something, since this is kind of an Earth Days thing, I'm going to start with something, hopefully you'll be able to see this. It's important to all of us, and that is our amazing planet Earth. Our Earth contains a bounty of life. All this life is interwoven in an incredible fabric. We're part of this tapestry as well. We sometimes forget that, as we rely on Earth for our very existence, and what we do affects our planet's health. Important in the natural scheme of things are predators. Predators have a job in nature in that they keep the balance by eating the weak, the sick, and the extra. And today we're here to talk to you about an elite group of flyers. These birds are aerial athletes or masters of the air. For centuries, human beings have been fascinated by birds of prey, not only for their beauty, but for their incredible aerial prowess. Through strength, tenacity, and sometimes stealthy strategy, these birds have been able to utilize a variety of prey in various conditions in a variety of habitats. Among these birds are the world's fastest animals, the falcons. And among the falcons, a very notable standout called the peregrine falcon. And since these birds are predators, they share some common things, which include excellent eyesight. Many of these birds can see anywhere from 6 to 10 times better than what we can. Most of them see in color, with the exception of the owls. Now, owls have incredible night vision, but also can see quite well during the day. These birds also have very strong beaks. They use these strong beaks to tear the prey apart. Some, in the case of owls and falcons, will use their beaks to finish off their prey, and some, like the bald eagle, have a very specialized beak. The large beak it has is great for taking apart a fish. These birds also possess extremely powerful feet, and these feet are armed with sharp claws called talons. They use these strong feet and talons to capture and kill their prey, and also use their strong feet when defending themselves. To give example power, the average human out here has between 40 to 80 pounds per square inch of pressure in their grasp. Some people have a little more. That golden eagle has between 400 to 1,000 pounds per square inch of pressure. Now, there's an exception to the strong foot rule, and that would be vultures. People commonly call buzzards. Think about what a vulture does. They have pretty weak feet. They eat dead animals. They don't need strong feet to kill something that's already dead. And since these other birds use their strong feet in defense, nature's given vultures a very unique way of defending themselves. Now, in birds of prey, females are larger than males. Girls are larger than boys. All the birds you'll see today are non-releasable, meaning they cannot go back to the wild, either due to a permanent injury. Our last bird you'll see today has a very obvious permanent injury, but a few of the birds, it's not very apparent what's wrong with them. These birds were raised by humans, found at an early age by people who meant well. Usually after a storm blew them out of their nest. They were hand raised where these birds could see them. We call them human imprints. We can't let them go. If we do, problems may crop up. First of all, a bird like this has been raised by people, may not learn how to hunt. When it gets hungry, it's going to seek out what it considers to be its parents, humans, to feed it. It'll land near someone or on someone, expecting to be fed and get itself hurt or killed or hurt someone. Sometimes instinct takes over. A bird like this will start catching its own food. Then in a few years, this bird matures and starts looking for a mate, looking for a boyfriend or a girlfriend. It doesn't go look for a bird like itself to be its mate. No, it goes looking for a human to be its mate. And most of the time, that doesn't work out very well, and in 49 to 50 states it is illegal. Now once again, we're going to walk around with these birds, and you'll get to see them up close as possible. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is start with something that some people don't realize, is that birds actually have different types of wing shapes. For example, we have some birds that are pretty common around here, such as blue jays, mockingbirds, cardinals. These birds have short rounded wings with long tails. Short rounded wings are great for quick bursts of speeds and takeoffs. Long tails are great for maneuverability. That's a young Cooper's hawk. A Cooper's hawk is a bird eater, lives right around here. Sometimes a Cooper's hawk can chase its prey through shrubs and bushes. And sometimes a bird that's being chased can actually outmaneuver the Cooper's hawk and live another day, but many times it can't and becomes a meal. Birds that spend a lot of time in the air soaring, such as hawks, vultures, eagles, have long, broad wings. These long, broad wings are great for utilizing any amount of rising air, allowing these birds to stay in the air for hours on end without using much of their own energy. The fastest birds in the world have long, pointed wings with stiff feathers. Included in this group are ducks and geese, with my video catch up, pigeons and doves, swifts and swallows, kites, and falcons. The fastest bird in the world level flight is the needle-tailed swift of India. This bird in short bursts and level flight do 110 miles an hour. However, the fastest is a diving bird that passes through here on migration both in the fall and spring, the legendary peregrine falcon. This bird's diving speeds have been clocked anywhere from 150 to perhaps over 270 miles an hour. We don't have a peregrine with us today. We do, however, have a smaller cousin, which is pretty common right around here, especially see them more in the wintertime. And eventually Dell will make it back here somewhere. Wherever she is. She's coming out now. She probably can't hear me back there. You're going to see a little bird that used to be called the sparrowhawk. If you drive Highway 72, if you go towards Florence, you see a lot of these, especially in the wintertime, sitting on power lines. They like to bob their tails. Now, she is bringing out Gilbert. Gilbert is a native to Alabama. Is actually found near Birmingham 10 years ago. Now these are cavity nesting birds. They nest in holes in trees. Sometimes they use a bird box. Sometimes they're rotted eaves of a roof. It's always a cavity. His parents nested in a hollow oak tree limb. That's a great place for them to nest since they're cavity nesting birds, but unfortunately a big thunderstorm came along and sheared that oak tree limb right off the tree. This tree happened to be in someone's yard. After the storm, they're checking out the damage and they saw these little falcons on the ground. They didn't know what to do with them. However, they did not want the little birds to die. They took them in and raised them. Eventually turned them over to Oak Mountain State Park there at Alabama Wildlife Center. And they determined Gilbert and his brothers and sisters have seen humans way too much. He thinks he's one of us. The females, the girls, are just a little bit bigger. They don't have the blue-gray on the wings like Gilbert has. They have a lighter colored chest with streaks on it. Majority of falcons, however, have what Gilbert has under his eyes. You might notice some dark lines under the eyes. It looks like his mascara is running. Those are called malar marks or mustache marks. Baseball and football players do exactly the same trick. Put black out under their eyes. And it helps reduce the sun's glare. Majority of falcons hunt in some type of open situation, which produces reflected sunlight. This little falcon is most frequently seen in agricultural areas. If you're driving down a highway next to a large field, you got a power line running next to it. A lot of times you'll see this little falcon sitting on a power line, likes to bob his tail up and down. On a windy day, you might see it hovering as well. You have probably figured out by now, Gilbert's kind is not going to catch and fly off with a poodle. He's going to concentrate his efforts in the warmer months, like now, on large insects like grasshoppers, beetles, crickets, dragonflies. He's going to catch a variety of small reptiles and amphibians. Also, small mammals are consumed. He also can go after birds, especially in the wintertime. Birds this size. I've seen American kestrels chasing meadowlarks and killdeer, which are easily the size of this bird. Now, in level flight, once again, the number of birds are actually faster than the American kestrel. In a dive, you can do about 100 miles an hour. That doesn't quite match his cousin the peregrine's diving speeds, but he uses that to his advantage. Also, this little bird will hover. And a lot of birds of prey use hovering as a hunting technique, very effective. If while hovering he spots a mouse or a bird or insect, he can go head down into a dive, sometimes reaching 100 miles an hour, have a better chance of catching his food. Also, when he's hovering, he's looking for something in particular. This little bird can see all the same colors we can. He can also see ultraviolet light. He uses that to his advantage. When mice and rats run along the ground, they tend to leave a trail of tinkle or urine behind them. That glows under ultraviolet light. When that kestrel's hovering over that field, a lot of times it's looking for the freshest trail of urine. If it sees a very fresh trail, it'll park over that spot and wait. Usually those little rodents they hunt have pretty poor eyesight. The last thing that little rodent sees are the talons of a kestrel coming down and grabbing the head. So, if you see a kestrel hovering over a field, it's looking for a mouse with a bladder problem. Now this bird is diurnal, active during the day. We're going to show you a few that are active at night. Dale is going to introduce you to the first one. And here, in fact, she's got him right now.
Okay, well, I've got a little owl that's called a screech owl. And the screech owl is really misnamed because they don't really screech. In fact, they make more of a wavering whistle. Now, this is Buddy. As I walk around with Buddy, you are going to notice that he does have a damaged left eye. Well, Buddy's pretty lucky to be alive today because he was hit by a car. Now, he can see, but not well enough in order to hunt for himself in the wild. Now, if you live in a wooded area near an open field, you might have a screech owl as your neighbor. You're not going to see these little owls too much during the day. That's because they're usually hiding or sleeping in the hollows of trees. Then right around dusk, right around the time it starts to get dark, these little owls come out and do what they like to do best, and that is hunt. They're incredible nighttime predators. Catch a variety of things such as rodents and reptiles, insects, birds, and bats. And believe it or not, these little owls are fast enough to capture birds their size. Now, owls are pretty talented. They have a lot of features that help them capture food in the dark. First of all, they have excellent eyesight. In fact, these birds can see about 100 times better than we can at night. And that helps them maneuver and capture prey in very low light. Well, owls can do something we can't. They can turn their head almost 300 degrees, almost all the way around. Now, we can't do that because we don't have as many bones in the back of our necks that owls do. We only have 7 vertebrae, they have 14. That enables them to turn their heads a whole lot further than we can. Now, the reason they do this is because owls cannot move their eyes at all. In fact, they're locked in their sockets by a ring of bone. So to compensate, they simply turn their heads. Now, speaking of eyes, owls can see a lot better than we can, and one reason for that is their eyes, in relationship to ours, are actually much larger. In fact, if our eyes were the same size as owls, why, they'd be about that big. That's an improvement for you, John. So we look pretty goofy walking around. Now, you'll notice Buddy's camouflage. He blends in perfectly with a tree. In fact, if I were to throw him at a tree, we virtually wouldn't be able to see him. So they are adapted very well for their environment. Now, another advantage owls have is their ability to fly quietly. These birds can move through the air without making any sound at all. Now, the reason they can do this is they have specially designed feathers on the leading edge of their wing. These feathers look like the teeth of a comb or the teeth of a saw. That helps them cut through the air, breaking up the air that moves over their wing, creating silent flight. Now, the screech owl is not the only owl in town. They do share their habitat with a variety of other owl species. This owl coming out in just a moment, John will be out with him in just a second here, is an owl that's not seen very often. In fact, you all may have some of this type of owl right around here. They like agricultural areas. In fact, coming out now is Bob, the barn owl. And John's going to tell you all about Bob.
All right. This is an owl that's not as common as it once was. 50 or 60 years ago. The barn owl has lost a lot of habitat in this region. We used to have more pastures around here. A lot of times they've been taken over by subdivisions. The barn owl likes pastures. They like barns, hence their name, barn owls. And this is a bird that's found throughout the world. Some places the barn owl is called the grass owl because it likes grassland habitat. It's also known as the heart-faced owl. It's pretty evident. Monkey-faced owl, white owl, screech owl, and ghost owl. That is my favorite common name for it, ghost owl. These birds are very white underneath. In flight, they're also very buoyant, tend to float or bob along. Sometimes, when this bird is in the air, it'll emit a very eerie sound like that. They do occasionally hunt around cemeteries. Imagine yourself around a cemetery at night, and there's a white thing bobbing along going, you might think you're seeing a ghost. Bob is in captivity because he was hand-raised by humans. In fact, he was hand-raised by a woman. He really likes my wife a lot better than he does me. I don't blame him for that either. So once again, he's a bird that can't go back in the wild because he thinks he's one of us. The barn owl is a very beneficial species to humans. Since the bulk of its diet consists of mice and rats, they do help us out a lot. They do occasionally eat large insects, sometimes other birds. Now, I don't know if Dale touched on the fact of owl hearings. I was back there. Did she talk about hearing at all? Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and do that. Owls have phenomenal sense of hearing. Something I want you to do, look at the person sitting or standing next to you and look at his or her ears. There are two things I want you to notice about human ears. First of all, our ears generally point straight ahead. Secondly, if you look at human ears by themselves, they look pretty ridiculous. You got this thing stuck on the side of your head. This is your pinna. Your pinna's job is to collect sound and direct it into your ear opening. If for some reason you lost your pinna, via accident or disease, you can still hear out of your ear opening. You just can't get the direction of sound as well. Now, let's see if I can step up here and show you this thing. So I want you to look at Bob's face. I'm going to try to put this thing on, too. Bob doesn't have pinna, neither do any other owls. What they do have is what is on his face, a facial disc, which is a parabolic reflector. I'm not going to be able to put this thing on. I made this out of a toilet seat cover. It was a new one. He didn't take it off our toilet. Now, unlike us, owls' ears don't point the same way. If you draw a horizontal line through our eyes, our ears are on the same plane. On an owl, they're different. One side, depending on the owl species, either points slightly upwards, other side slightly downwards, or the actual ear opening lies above one side and below the other. So, if an owl, say if this barn owl were sitting in a tree at the edge of a field, hear a mouse running out in that field, and start bobbing his head back and forth. Do it like this. Wax on, wax off. Anyway, you'll bounce sound off in each ear at different times. And the sound coming in knows exactly where that mouse is, can launch out of that tree, fly over and catch that mouse without seeing it, sometimes as far as a quarter of a mile away in almost total darkness. Now, the barn owl doesn't hoot. There are two types of hoot owls around here. One is a great horned owl, looks like a gigantic screech owl like Buddy. The other is the barred owl, B-A-R-R-E-D. The barred owl gets its name because it has bar-like feathers on the lower abdomen. Both owls hoot, but in different ways. Great horned owl sounds roughly like this. To me, the barred owl, which lives in wooded areas near water, is the true hoot owl. It does a variety of hoots, calls, and noises. Most common hoot you'll hear from the barred owl has a pattern that sounds like it's saying, "Who cooks for you? Who cooks for you all?" And it goes something like this. This is an easy owl to call. If you are somewhere and hear a barred owl hooting, if you can do anything that sounds like a barred owl's hoot, a lot of times this bird will come up and check you out. I called to a hooting barred owl one time. It landed in a tree, started looking at me like, "You're the ugliest owl I've ever seen." If you don't know how to call a barred owl, I'm sure some of you do, we're going to learn. What I'm going to do is do that hoot again. And then when I count to 3, I want you to try your version. We'll see how it sounds. Here it is again. Ready? 1, 2, 3. That wasn't bad. It was somewhere between a rooster and a baboon. Believe it or not, what you did was good enough to bring a curious barred owl in for a closer look. So if you're somewhere and get the opportunity, give it a try. You might be surprised. That owl's definitely going to be surprised. The barred owl does other sounds and noises as well. Sometimes you hear a group of barred owls up in the trees. What it sounds like, they're having a party to which we've invited some chimpanzees. Imagine 3 or 4 or 5 barred owls all doing this at once. Party. The barred owl is responsible for the strangest sounds in the night woods. This is a very eerie sound. So much so, if you're in the night woods and hear this next noise I'm going to do that the barred owl makes and you don't know what this sound is, it is very inspirational. It may inspire you to run until you strike a large solid object, like a tree or a large rock. Picture yourself in the woods at night and suddenly from behind you comes this. Sometimes at the end of that scream, a barred owl will simply go, oh. Maybe that bird saw you in a tree or rock, looking down at you going, oh, that would have hurt. Now, female barn owls are just a little bit bigger. They have a kind of a golden colored chest. Bob weighs in a whopping total of 1 pound. All right? And birds that fly have lightweight skeletal systems. The larger bones and wings and legs are hollow, not like a straw, more like a cardboard box. Now, we're going to bring out another bird you've probably seen right around here. Dale's going to introduce you to Cody.
Okay. Well, Cody is an example of the most common bird of prey you'll see in North America. In fact, this bird can be seen from Maine to Mexico to Alaska. They live in heavily wooded areas, open fields, and all points in between. And I guarantee many of you have some red-tailed hawks as your neighbor, particularly if you have a lot of squirrels and chipmunks in your yard. Now this is Cody, and Cody is in captivity because it was discovered that Cody simply does not have the predatory instincts in order to survive on his own in the wild. Now that's not typical of red-tailed hawks. They're so successful because they're opportunistic. That means they'll eat whatever they can find in the wild, such as rodents and reptiles, insects, birds, and bats. And sometimes you'll catch a glimpse of red-tailed hawks eating dead animals. Now check out Cody's feet. They're not big, but boy, does he have a grip. I can feel him squeezing right through this glove. Cody can squeeze at about 500 pounds per square inch of pressure. Your average human, only 80 pounds per square inch of pressure. Now they use their powerful feet not only to capture their food, but sometimes they have to use their feet to defend themselves from other birds of prey. Now this is a bird you often see soaring in the air, usually turning in a circular fashion. The reason they're turning, a lot of people think they're just looking for food. Actually, they're simply traveling. It's a great way to get around. They're riding warm air currents called thermals. They can climb in these thermals thousands of feet up in the air. Great way to get around without using a whole lot of effort. By the way, the term Hawkeyes is very apt. If Cody could read, he could read a newspaper headline a half a mile to a mile away. So they have phenomenal eyesight. Now, a lot of times you'll see these birds sitting in trees, telephone poles, and they're birds that like to sit and wait for just the right moment to pounce on their prey on the ground. Red-tailed